We were pleased to see our last video caught the attention of the PSPCA, who gave some lip service about how Saint's case was not beyond their scope despite the email to Saint's owner appearing to imply that. We were delighted to read PSPCA CEO Julie Klim's own words that they'd in fact investigate the case without prejudice. We're still waiting and hoping that they'll uphold the neglect and cruelty statutes that were obviously violated in his case. Hopefully their investigation will be as thorough as their dissection of our last voiceover video. But with that hope comes doubt, as most of the animal welfare community was disgusted at the PSPCA's recent supposed thorough investigation of ACT, following the July 27th dog warden report. The Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture's dog warden overseeing ACT actually referred them for cruelty after their last inspection due to the sanitation issues found. We've long known the horrendous conditions the animals there are subjected to, so we finally thought we would see some consequences for the lack of leadership at ACT. Consequences for the toxic work environment they've created that have driven out a tremendous amount of caring employees, rescues, and volunteers in a short period of time. Well, PSPCA said it best in their own post, "Teamwork makes the dream work," and apparently it gives you a pass on neglect and cruelty, as their thorough investigation that concluded in early August determined that the cruelty code was not violated. From July 27th to early August, how thorough could it have been? Saint's abuse and murder happened on August 4th, right in the middle of their investigation. They are setting a very scary precedent that neglect and cruelty are okay and overlooked at the city's open intake shelter. If we examine Title 18, subsection 5532, Neglect of Animal, ACT has the duty of care when they intake an animal to provide clean and sanitary shelter and necessary vet care. Further examination of section 5533, Cruelty to Animal, includes knowingly ill-treats or abuses an animal. Section 5534 provides for aggravated cruelty charges if either of those results in serious bodily injury. We all know in Saint's case they failed to provide proper vet care, and they blocked Saint's owner from getting him care. The charge of aggravated cruelty should be brought to the kennel attendant they continue to employ there for his abuse of Saint. Further, it doesn't take an expert or humane officer to see that these recent photos are unsanitary and constitute ill treatment where dogs are forced to eat amongst their own feces with urine-soaked bedding and virulent discharge running from their nose. Sadly, this is an all too common sight at ACT, and their good old buddies at the PSPCA think this is humane. As far as providing necessary medical care, there are far too many examples of where ACT has failed that duty of care. But here are a couple of examples. This poor girl, Porcupine, sat alone suffering behind a sheet with signs that said staff only, and no vet check was done. What would have become of her had someone not pulled back the curtain? Or take Sweetie Pie here, a kitten that was noted to have severe eye infections on intake on August 21st. Medication was stopped 7 days later, and this baby was still there on September 9th. And of course there's Saint, who was denied medical care after suffering a traumatic injury at ACT and then murdered. Again, we in the rescue community have long known the failures of ACT Executive Director Aurora Velasquez, and it's just now starting to reach the public at large. She'd have you believe she's paying the price for previous administration's decisions. No one but Aurora alienated rescues to the point that many will no longer work with ACT, threatened volunteers with expulsion if they ask for transparency, and pushed out caring, talented staff who are now working with us and asking for leadership change. ACT Philly minimized these inhumane conditions and all the issues at ACT Philly as some failed thinking outside the box. Seriously? Now Aurora has revoked volunteers' access to the system to get information about the dogs and cats in retaliation to the public outcry, and now she can operate with secrecy behind the scenes. How many animals are going to disappear now with no one watching? Aurora and her regime have to go. Please sign and share the petition to replace the current administration at ACT Philly and join us on September 30th as we rally for change and new ACT leadership at City Hall in Philadelphia. Continue to share. Email the board, managing director's office, and the PSPCA to let them know that the conditions at ACT are inhumane and an embarrassment to the city of Philadelphia. Quite frankly, it's mind-boggling how all three of these groups continue to enable Aurora's employment, and they are absolutely complicit in the neglect and cruelty by allowing this to continue. Speak up for the voiceless. Don't abandon supporting the animals there because of the drive for change. The animals at ACT need us more now than ever. Go there today and truly save a life.